Hello. Today I'm going to teach you how to shade your portrait. So what we did in class is we learned the general proportions of the face. We drew a general face. So you're going to go ahead in your Chromebook or in your sketchbook and turn to your outline of the face we did as a class. You're going to need your 2B pencil and your 6B pencil that are in your art kits. So we're going to start with the 2B. When you hold your pencil when you're shading, you want to hold it a little bit different. So if you put it in your hand, close your hand around it. I keep this finger out. So when I flip it over, I can rest my finger on the top. I'm going to be using the beveled edge of the lead. I am not going to be using the tip. So when you are shading the face, we want to think about how the light's hitting the face and where the highlights and shadows will be. So we're just going to assume the light is coming from the top down. In which case your cheekbones are going to have a little bit of a highlight. Your nose is going to stick out a little bit, maybe the chin. And then as your face curves around, you're going to see some shadows along the sides of the face. So we're going to start with the sides of the face. I start out pretty light and I'm doing what's called directional shading. So I'm actually shading diagonally here. I am not shading straight across because that will flatten. If I shade straight up and down, again, that's going to flatten the face. We want it to look three-dimensional. So when we are shading a picture, we're adding value to it. Value is one of our vocabulary words we learn in art, and value is the darkness or lightness of a color. The darkness or lightness of a color. And adding value to objects creates form, which is another vocabulary word we have in art. And form is the 3D quality of something. So obviously, this face is not actually 3D. We are trying to create the illusion of form by adding value to our portrait. Okay, so I've started here adding this directional shading along the sides of the face. I'm going to go back in towards the ears, make it a little bit darker so we can delineate where the face stops, ear starts. Going around the chin here. Okay. So now hopefully the face is starting to curve in a little. It looks like it's going back into space. We're going to now talk about the nose. Nose is very important. It won't start to look very realistic until we add some shading. I'm actually going to lighten up my outline a little bit right here. I don't want that to be too strong. So I'm going to go in and again, directional shading. I'm using a diagonal shading stroke here. I'm going to go around the nose, up a little bit more, go to the other side. Same thing. I like to turn my paper so that it makes it easier since I'm right-handed. Get the pencil correct. I'm actually shading underneath the nose because if the light source is coming from the top, it is going to cast a shadow there. Okay, so the tip of the nose actually sticks out the most. So I'm actually going to shade in like a circle right here. And our nostrils will not be getting really any light. So I'm actually going to move my hand up a little bit on the pencil so that I can shade darker where the nostrils would be. Okay, so you can see that nose is starting to look like it's coming out of the face. There you go. Next thing we're going to do is the eyes. Your eyes rest in eye sockets in your skull. So you're actually going to have a little bit of a shadow all the way around your eyes. So I'm just adding value, some light value all the way around the eyes to show that it is recessed in the back of the face. Okay, when you are shading eyes, I'm going to go ahead and switch my grip again. If you shade in kind of like a starburst around the pupil, that's going to make it look a little bit more realistic. And even though the whites of our eyes are called the whites because they are rest back into the recesses of where our eyes go. They're not going to look completely bright white. There's going to be a little bit of a shadow on there. So I'm even in the whites of the eyes, just adding a slight bit of value to show that they do curve around and it's not bright white. Okay, so if you have darker eyes, obviously you shade a little bit more. If you have light eyes, you would do some light value there. With the eyelashes, we talked about this before, but you never pick up your pencil. It's more like shading, where you kind of shade close to the eyelid and then stick out. It's close to the eyelid, bump out, close to the eyelid, bump out. That's how we did the eyelashes. Same thing with eyebrows here. I'm just kind of shading directionally, and I'm shading kind of lighter and darker. So I'm pressing lightly and then I'll press darker, press light and press dark, or press harder, I guess is what I should say. So when you're doing the eyebrows, again, it's just me varying the pressure of how I'm shading with the graphite. Okay. So got our little eyebrows done. All right, let's move on down here. Now, underneath the nose, we have this part of our lip that connects up to our nose, the upper lip. So we're going to show that here. And then your top lip, your lips pigment generally is a slightly different color from your skin. Some people's is slightly lighter. Some people's is slightly darker. My lips are darker than my actual skin tone. So when you're doing your self-portrait, that's just something you're going to pay attention to and look at. I am leaving a little bit of a highlight on the bottom lip because it's going to catch the light more than the top lip, just based on the light coming down like this. I'm also going to add a little bit of a shadow underneath the bottom lip, as it will cast a small shadow there. Okay, so we have our little chin. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and add a little bit more value just to show a skin color. Of course, nobody has like paper white skin, so all of us have some sort of tonality. So I'm just kind of going back and adding a really light value to the whole face to kind of even everything out. All right, when it comes to the ears, I might add like a little bit of a darker shade where the inside of the ear might show. And then I'll go ahead and add a value to the earlobe and around the sides of the ears. So it matches the skin tone color. All right, so now I'm heading down to the neck. This is a very important shadow to add, as it will make your chin look like it is sticking out from the neck. So again, with the neck, I am doing directional shading here, getting a little bit lighter as I travel away from the chin, curving around. Okay, if you're drawing a person that is male, they might have a little bit of an Adam's apple that you could shade around to show that that actually sticks out from their neck a little bit more. Females don't have as pronounced Adam's apples. So I'm going to go ahead and just go shade the shoulders so that, again, it looks like the same skin tone. All right. So the other thing that you have available to you is your 6B. And anywhere there's supposed to be the darkest shadows, you can grab your 6B and go back and add a little bit more. 6B is a softer lead. And when you have a softer lead, it's going to be darker. So I'm going to go back around the eyes, try to make them look like they're a little bit further back in the face there. I'm going to go again underneath the chin and add a little bit more shadow, a little bit more value, darker value underneath the chin, because that's going to be one of our darker areas. Trying to really push that chin forward by adding contrast with our value. Here, might go back into the ear with my 6B. Nostrils are obviously pretty dark. Okay, so anywhere you feel could use a little bit more variety, going back with your 6B just kind of helps because you can get those darker darks. Okay, and that brings us to hair. So I'm actually going to flip over to an example I did last quarter. So when we talk about hair, we want to shade using value. So when you are doing curly or textured hair, you don't want to draw ringlets because that's not going to look very realistic. Instead, you just kind of want to do the same thing where I'm alternating the pressure. I'm doing like a harder pressure and a softer pressure, and a harder pressure and a softer pressure. And I just keep kind of alternating, but using these scribble marks in order to make it look textured. If you have tighter curls in your hair, you're going to alter your lines more, like it's more scribbly. If you have kind of big waves, you're going to do like a looser, wider scribbly. Okay. With straight hair, you still want to alternate light and dark because nobody's hair is a flat color. We have dimension in our hair, the way the light hits it, the fact that we have multiple pieces of hair that are layered on each other. So same thing with straight hair, except instead of doing the bumpy, you're going to be doing the straight, shading directionally with the shape of your head. Okay. And then if you have longer hair, you can of course have it come down here. If you have glasses, you can get all this done and then go ahead and add the outline of your glasses around your face. But I would get all that shading and everything done first. Okay. So hopefully that helps you shade your portrait. When you are doing your final draft, you can decide if you want to do this for your final draft and add an interesting background, or if you'd like to do something else like the watercolor, oil pastels, whatever else you decide. All right. Thank you so much for watching.